welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are doing well. So in today's video, I'm really excited to sit down and test out the new Urban Decay. Well, it's not new, but it's new to me. The new Urban Decay. Why do I keep calling it new? It's not new. It's been around for a while, but this is the Stay Naked Weightless Liquid Foundation up to 24-hour wear. I also have the concealer, the correcting concealer. This is what they look like. Now I got this on sale for 50% off on the Urban Decay South Africa website, so I'm really excited to kind of let you guys know my thoughts on this. This is a very high-end foundation for me, and if you guys know my channel, I do a lot of affordable foundations, but when there's that high-end foundation, trust me when I say it is more than worth it. So I'm super excited to test this out for you guys today, and let's get into it. So I actually got the shade 60WY and I got the shade 50WY in the concealer shade. So I just went one shade down in the concealer, and this should be my exact skin tone shade. It may not match exact because we're still, you know, getting into the warmer weather, but what I really like about this foundation shade range is the fact that they vary in undertone and shade. So I don't even know how to describe this shade range, but there are 50 shades in this range, and if you know your undertone, I think it would be pretty easy for you to get your shade range. The way I kind of match my undertone is I kind of viewed a few other YouTube channels, and I don't like my foundation to look cool. So I noticed some people who were in my shade range here on YouTube went for the shade 60CG, but I decided to go for the shade 60WY because I do have a very yellow undertone. If you look at my skin, it's very yellowy. And so when I wear a foundation, I want my foundation to also have that yellowy undertone coming through. So we're gonna see what the shade looks like and if I did get a good match. Other than that, if you are in my shade range and maybe you're not as yellow as me, I think a similar shade would be the shade 60CG. And yeah, like I said, there are 50 different shades in this range, so you are bound to find something that is gonna work perfectly for you. And let's just read a description of this foundation, shall we? Okay, there really isn't much of a description on the website, but it does have a description on the packaging. It says flexible, breathable, real skin matte finish, medium buildable, coverage, does not transfer, minimizes the appearance of pores, love that, stay true color, waterproof, vegan formula, and does not contain any animal derived ingredients or byproducts. So those of you who are really trying to get into beauty products that are cruelty free, Urban Decay is the one. And then moving on to the Stay Naked Correcting Concealer. This is available in 25 shades, and like I said, I have the shade 50WY. And this says that it is buildable, full coverage, flexible, breathable, does not transfer, real skin matte finish, corrects the look of imperfections, which is why it's called a correcting concealer, waterproof, vegan formula, and does not contain any animal derived ingredients or byproducts. So that is great to hear. So let's open these babies up and talk about the packaging. Oh my god, do y'all see this luxe feeling packaging right now? Oh my god, it has like a little bit of a dip right here. Ooh, okay, the packaging looks so sexy, if you will. I'm just so weird about saying that word on camera, but I mean, it just looks so like, oh, like, you know, like sexy. Anyway, so next we're gonna go on to the concealer, and this is what the concealer packaging looks like. I love this packaging so much. It's just gonna look, whoop, it's just gonna look so beautiful on like your vanity. Like this rose, oh, this rose gold is just vibes. Anyway, let's get into this video. So first things first, I'm gonna be priming my face. I do have a little bit of a breakout situation happening right now, but we also do want to give this foundation the best chance on my skin, you know. So I'm gonna be going in with my J1 Jelly Pack Primer. Don't know if you guys can even see it. Just going to apply this all over my face. Okay, so I'm gonna be applying foundation with a sponge on one side of my face and a brush with the other side of my face, as per usual, just to kind of see how this foundation wears and what sort of tools we kind of need to use to get the best wear out of this foundation. So let's get into it. Ooh, we have a rose gold pump as well. Love that. Just gonna pump this on the back of my hand. Ooh, very liquidy. Okay, that's one. I'm gonna do 1.5 pumps. Okay, very liquidy. This shade reminds me, like when I see it on the back of my hand right now, it reminds me of the Fenty 330. Oh, it definitely reminds me of Fenty 330. So if you are Fenty 330, I think this would be your perfect shade. So I'm just gonna dot a good amount on one half of my face. Gonna be taking my sponge. Oh my god, this is beautiful. This finish is beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna have to say it is a perfect match. You guys can see, like, from the foundation side to the non-foundation. Obviously, I look a little bit pale now because we're still gonna get back into winter. But I think this would probably be my perfect shade. And I'm so glad that I got this warm shade as opposed to the cooler shade, because this is just my vibe. So I'm just building it up slightly. It is very liquidy, so I think with the sponge, you're probably going to be absorbing a little bit more product. I will say though, it definitely is a more medium to full coverage. A little bit of my imperfections are still kind of peeking through, but sponges do absorb product. So I'm gonna see how a brush works on this side of my face, and then we'll kind of just build up the product if we need to with a brush. I'm just gonna go in with 2 more pumps. I cannot believe how similar to the Fenty foundation this looks. I think I should like swatch them side by side, because I'm almost certain that this is maybe a dupe for Fenty. Or is Fenty a dupe for I don't know which one came first. So I'm gonna go in with my Switch Beauty Total Buffer. Okay, 100%. I think with the liquid consistency with this foundation, I think you're better off using a sponge. I'm already getting a bit more of a fuller coverage with a brush right now. Do you guys see the difference? And I'm pretty sure I put like the same amount of foundation on. So 100% using a brush will get you better coverage with a foundation as liquidy as this. I mean, look at that difference though. Hectic. Okay guys, I feel like I have to compare the Fenty and this foundation because they are so similar. I'm just here like... Okay, so this is my Fenty 330. I'm just gonna squeeze a little bit on the back of my hand. Just a tiny bit, we're not trying to waste. Okay, so this is the Fenty and this is the Urban Decay. Do y'all see like how close shades this is? I think if anything, the Fenty might be slightly more on the neutral side and the Urban Decay is slightly more on the yellowy side, but regardless, when it's on my face, I feel like it's the same. Okay, so my first impressions is that this has like a beautiful natural finish on the skin. Like I said, it's very, very similar to Fenty in the way that you need to build it up and stuff like that. But I will say, you guys, this is just, it's beautiful. It looks beautiful on the skin. It is not doing anything crazy on like my acne scars. And overall, it just looks like skin. Like a little bit of like a mattified skin moment, which I love. Also, I will say, if you're very finicky about product wastage, which I am, which is half of the reason why I use a brush for most of my foundations, I would say a sponge will absorb a good amount of this foundation, especially because it's so thin in formula and it's so liquidy. So I would highly recommend rather using a brush as opposed to a sponge to get the most use out of your bottle of foundation. Okay, now we're gonna go on to concealer. I'm actually gonna bring you guys a little closer so you guys can see what the skin looks like up close and personal. Okay, so like I said, this shade is the shade 50 WY, and if you guys see the shade comparison between, can see that the shade difference is quite intense. So I would recommend that if you guys are not looking to go for something very light, maybe go for the same shade of concealer in the foundation range. I think because 50 WY is so light, I don't think 60 WY would be an exact match to your foundation shade. So let's get into it and see what it looks like, because in the bottle it could look different and on the skin it could look different as well. Okay, so this doe foot applicator is quite unique. I've never come across one like this. It has like a weird swoop. It has like a dip where the concealer sits in. Very, very unique. Okay, so I'm gonna do this under the eyes and then work section by section because I don't know how fast this dries down. Oh yeah, this is like, okay, come through coverage. Do y'all see that? Okay, so this does say that it is medium buildable coverage, so I'm just gonna go ahead and try to build up some coverage on the inner part of my eye. I will say this concealer is super easy to blend out. Also very, very pigmented, you guys. I don't think this foundation oxidizes at all. I think it stays pretty true to color. And then I'm just gonna do the center of my face. I have to say I really, really like the finish of the concealer. It sits almost like exactly like the foundation. I think it sits pretty well because as I'm going over certain areas with my sponge, like the way your sponge feels when it's on the skin, you can sort of feel when it's like set, and when there's like a tact on the sponge, you can feel that it's definitely set into place. I will say you can easily build up this concealer and the coverage where you need to. So I think if you a girl that likes a multi-wear product where sometimes you prefer more natural finish, I think that this foundation and concealer combination is really, really good for that, because when you want a natural finish, you can obviously use less product. If you want a more full coverage and you're going full out glam and you're going to like an event or something of that sort, you can definitely build it up to a more full coverage effect. I will say this concealer is beautiful. I love it with this foundation shade. I honestly, personally, in my day-to-day life, wear concealers that are this light, so I wouldn't mind it. But for you guys out there watching, you may feel like this is too light for you, but yeah, I don't mind it at all. And you guys can see that there is no sort of shine on my face. It's completely dried down matte, although I'm still gonna go in and set it with concealer because every concealer creases on me. So yeah, let's bake this cake, shall we? So I'm gonna go in with my translucent setting powder from Bionic Babe, and I'm just gonna set under my eyes. This is a translucent powder, so obviously it's not going to change the shade of my concealer. I'm also going to set the areas where I typically get shiny, which is my T-zone. Now, just because I'm extra, I'm also going to go in with my usual luxury banana powder from Revolution. Okay guys, the time right now is 10:30, and I'm gonna go ahead off of camera, finish off the rest of my makeup, and then I'll be back to show you guys what the finished face looks like. Okay everyone, so the time right now is 23 minutes past 11, and I I've had this foundation on for almost an hour at this point. I would say it looks pretty identical from when I last applied it, and everything is looking pretty amazing on the skin. Like I said, I'm not going to set this foundation with setting spray. Although it is like a natural matte finish, I would probably set it with a setting spray because it's a little bit more on the matte side. But it's set pretty well. I did not set this area of my face with powder, and it's set completely, which I'm really excited for. It says up to 24-hour of wear. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to keep this on for 24 hours, but I'm gonna try and keep this foundation on for as long as possible. I will say on like my blemishes and stuff like that, it has not rubbed off. On certain blemishes that are fresh, foundations can tend to slip and slide. It's pretty much such a good coverage foundation. Really love this shade match as well. I will be checking in with you guys in the next couple of hours to see how well this is wearing as well. So yeah, I will see you guys in a little bit, but so far so good. I am genuinely really enjoying this foundation. Okay everyone, so the time right now is 22 minutes past 4. We're basically approaching the 6-hour mark at this point, which is crazy. So this is what the foundation looks like. There's nothing settling into my smile lines. It's only when I talk that I can kind of see like my smile lines, but then when my face is relaxed, there's minimal settling whatsoever, which I think is absolutely amazing. And yeah, as you guys can see, my nose is a little bit shiny, just ever so slightly. I usually do get shiny in my T-zone area. My forehead surprisingly is not that shiny. My nose is slightly shiny, so I'm just gonna take a tissue and just blot the area. That's pretty good for 6 hours though. Just gonna blot. Okay, this is not much oil coming off at all. And if you are an oily skin girl, literally not much oil at all. If you are an oily skin girl, you definitely would only have to blot around the 6-hour mark, which I think is pretty decent considering me being an oily girl, and most foundations I get oily around like the 3-hour mark, sometimes 2 hours on a really oily day. But yeah, I think that's pretty good so far. I think this foundation looks insane. I'm gonna give it a little bit more wear for like a good couple of hours. We're gonna see how long I can go and keep this foundation on, but so far so good. I think 6 hours is pretty decent for my skin. The rest of my face is still pretty set, no transfer whatsoever, which is great. So yeah, I am gonna go about my day furthermore, and I'll be back in the next check-in. Okay everyone, I am back for the last and final check-in. The time right now is 8:52 p.m. and I've had this makeup on for just under 10.5 hours at this point, and you guys can see it looks pretty good. Can y'all see how good it still looks? I mean, obviously my oils have come through just a little bit more, but nevertheless I think that it looks pretty decent. None of the makeup has like what's the word, like broken up or anything of that sort. I will say my smile lines just on the one side have creased just a smidge, just a teeny tiny bit. It's not even noticeable. Like I can barely even see it in the viewfinder or in my mirror that's like maybe like half a meter away from me. So yeah, like it's really not that noticeable. The foundation hasn't broken up anywhere on my face, which I think is great. I am a little bit more dewy like in the center of my face right here because I am a bit more on the oily side, but it's nothing too crazy or heavy, and it hasn't, like I said, affected the way the foundation wears. So I mean, if I just blot, again, it's really not a lot of oils that have come through, which is great. If I just blot the center of my face, I can probably get away with maybe another few hours of wear with this foundation. I think it's ridiculous. I will say though, I didn't mention the price at the beginning of this video because obviously I paid half price, I didn't pay full price. The foundation is actually 550 Rand and the concealer is 400 Rand. So these products are a little bit on the more pricier side, but I mean, when you look at the coverage and the longevity and the wearability and the basically like the way it wears, I mean, it's well worth the price point. If you guys have smile lines and fine lines and stuff like that and you find your foundation settles, I would say this is probably one of those foundations that have settled the least for me. I mean, this is 10 hours of wear of foundation and I usually have hella creasing where you can actually see my natural skin color come through in my smile line. So really impressed with this foundation overall. It just looks amazing. It wears pretty well. I'm just gonna touch my face to see if there's any transferability. I think there's maybe just a slight bit of oils coming through from my natural skin, but other than that, like, it has not transferred whatsoever. I usually get transferring along the neckline of my shirts, none whatsoever, because I usually, when I lay on my bed, I usually lay like this. There's no transferring on my shirt as well. So really love this foundation. I think it's well worth the price point. I personally would wear this foundation for special occasions if I do have to repurchase. 530 for a decent foundation, it's not bad. 400 for a concealer though, I'm just like, is it really 400 for this little product? But let us go in and let us scope what this looks like. Okay. So I was wiping my nose throughout the entire day because that happens to me all the time. I get post-nasal drip, and the only place that the concealer and foundation mixture have rubbed off is right at the base of my nostril, which is where the tissue touches the most, right? Everywhere else, it has not moved. I usually get my concealer kind of creasing and looking crusty on my upper lip. It does not look like that with this specific combination. Under the eye area, I will say very minimal creasing. I do have a very like one strong deep line under my eye area, but overall I would say that, I mean, the under eye area looks pretty decent. Sometimes what concealers do is throughout the day as they wear, they kind of wear down and then your under eye dark circles start peeking through. This one did not do that. You guys can see, still good coverage. So I mean, it's really not that bad. It's really not that bad for 400 Rand, and you know you're gonna pay for something that is gonna last a long time. Personally, I wouldn't wear this foundation combination, concealer and foundation combination every day. I would use it for like special occasions and like weddings and stuff, just because that's who I am as a person, you know. But other than that, I think it's a really good investment to your collection. Other than that, I will say I'm super impressed that I could have kept this on for like 10 hours. It's super light on the skin, you guys. It doesn't even feel like I am wearing any makeup. It's just like the name says, it is weightless and it lasts an extremely long time, and I can totally understand why they market it as a 24-hour wear product. And yeah, I think that it is quite decent. Again, is Urban Decay worth the hype? I would 100% have to say yes. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you guys have enjoyed. Comment down below. Are there anything from Urban Decay, or any products rather from Urban Decay, that I am sleeping on? Comment down below and let me know, because I'm a bit mad at myself and I feel like I need to get onto the bandwagon. So that is it for this video. I love you guys so much. Don't forget to slay all day every day with makeup, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye bye.